What is up, guys, and welcome to episode number 8 of the Next Level Esports Podcast, the number one podcast about esports coaching and team development to help you and your team reach the next level by getting the people side of esports right. My name is Donny, and today I'm talking to Emanuel Ursachi. Emanuel is the current head coach of Kick Esports and is a former coach of Giants Gaming, Zero Tenacity, and Besiktas Esports. In different teams, he was a strategic coach or a head coach. Today we're taking a closer look at what are the differences between each of these roles and what you need as skills to be either strategic or head coach, and why you want to be either one of those. Do you need more analytical skill for one of those roles, or do you need it both in both roles? Do you have to be a people person to be strategic or head coach? What are good approaches to coaching in both roles? In this episode, Emanuel is clearing the air for you and is providing you with the answers to these questions and much more. Turn up your volume because this will be a treat. How are you doing today, Emanuel?
Hello. Nice to have you and talk to you. I'm doing pretty good, honestly. I'm looking forward to the podcast. It's the first time actually for me that I do a podcast, so it's definitely going to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, great stuff. For everything, there's a first time, right?
Yep,
So
for sure.
I'm for sure with the stories and the people that I've spoken to that you have an interesting story to tell.
hmm
So in order to get that story going, let's take a little bit of look at your history because you started off as a player at first glance. That's what you
Yeah.
see in the history books. But you coached many different roles: analyst, an assistant coach, strategic coach, and then
Yeah.
from head coach to strategic coach, and then back to head coach. So you have embodied a lot of different roles. So can you first tell a bit for the audience about your background from player to different coach roles, and then we start off with the strategic and head coach part.
Yeah, definitely. I think most of the coaches, not all of them, but most of them start as players, not necessarily professional, but everyone plays the game and then they decide to, and they maybe have coach skills, and they decide to take a step into the industry as coaches. So in my case, basically what happened, I was player. I just started as a hobby, and then I started getting up in ranks. I went to master, grandmaster, challenger, and so on until I finally got the chance to play in a professional environment.
Hmm.
And once I played in a professional environment, I really liked that. I liked the competition. I liked the idea of growth. And even while I was a player, what was happening is I always looked for the strategic part of the game.
Hmm.
I was always looking at the team as well, even though I was playing individually and I was supposed to focus on myself. I was always focusing on the people around me as well, and how we can win the game as a team, and how we can improve, of course. And also, always after the games, I was reviewing, even though maybe there were no meetings
Hmm.
with the other players. I was just reviewing by myself and looking at the game. So I always found myself having that kind of thing where I want to analyze, talk to other people, other players, and just look to grow as an individual and as a team.
Hmm.
So once I think, in EBL, I was in a team, and I had some free time, and there was a position in Besiktas
Hmm.
remotely,
Yeah.
and I wanted to take it. I was like, okay, let's see if I could be a player and at the same time work in a team with another coach. Maybe I get more experience. Maybe, it's only stuff that you can gain, unless obviously you get overburned. But it wasn't the case there because I didn't have much work to do. Just I was just getting experience. I was working with another coach, so he was the one in charge. So basically, I went there. I took a tryout, me and many other coaches and analysts, and I managed to get in the team. Even though I was a player, the head coach was fine with that because he saw that in the tryout I had really good game knowledge. And yeah, we started working there for a while. And once that season was over, I had the experience of working from the staff perspective, like the coach, social analyst, assistant coach, and from the player perspective. And once I had both views, I just knew that for me, most likely it's just going to be better to continue as a coach because
Interesting.
I put everything on the balance, um, and it just felt that I had more skill, and just overall my skills were more beneficial in the coach position than in the player position.
Yeah.
So
What I
yeah,
hear is, from even being as a player, you are looking at the people side of esports. Also, how can we win? And look at different perspectives of players from a natural standpoint. And I talked to that in the second podcast, I believe, with Ursula Klimczak, performance coach.
yeah,
And I believe if you want to be great, yeah, about a career or about your profession, you need to look at what your strengths are. And you,
yeah, yeah.
at a quite early stage in your career, you recognize, like, I believe you recognize for yourself as well, like, why am I reviewing the games? Why do I care about others' perspectives as well instead of only my own gameplay? You have to have something, I believe, as a player, if you want to become a coach, to have these types of things. So, what I'm curious about is, what are some of the things that you look out for? So maybe people of the audience, if they are looking to get into coaching or are perhaps players, are some of those tiny little signs that perhaps there is a coaching career laid out for them.
To answer that question, it would probably have to be specific to what type of coaching that person wants to do. So if it's head coach or strategic coach, you need certain skills for that, maybe analyst.
Mm.
But right now, what I'm doing is obviously I'm being a head coach, and I think in order for someone to go on that path, they would have to be able to have like the people skills, to be able to talk to people, to understand people, and to manage to find solution based on the things that they find out in their discussions with the players, with the staff. I think it's extremely hard to be a coach and not have this skill of understanding others
Mm.
and
Can,
finding
can, you- can, you-
solutions.
can you name one or two examples of what would be that you have to understand, that you have to get a sort of natural sense for a little bit of emotional intelligence? What are the signs?
Let's give a very practical example. Your team just comes together, like you form a team, you bring new players, the owner signs them, whatever, and then you go into the first set of scrims
Hmm.
and you see them play, you see them communicate. So you should, as a coach, be able, after a few scrims and after a few discussions with your players, to know what goes through their head, what kind of players they are, what they feel in the game, what their play style is. That way, it's much easier for you as a coach to come up with strategies, with solutions, with topics to talk about in meetings. Because if you don't really understand your players, how can you really talk to them or coach them, right?
Hmm. Great answer, and I believe this is a more in-depth view, and I want to explore it a little bit further, because what I hear is you need to start to analyze not only the situation at hand, but to add on everything that is happening
Exactly.
in terms of the playstyle, communication, and the person. You need to be looking at the individual as a full package, not only at the
Yeah.
gameplay, but also the communication. So, what you are basically want to look for, or maybe a sort of natural tendency that you might have, that you feel like, oh, I can potentially be a coach is look for patterns. Is that basically
Yeah,
the thing?
more or less. Yeah, you can look for patterns, and not just patterns. If you want to be a coach, there's so many things. I guess looking for patterns in people is just one of them. Mm, I would have to talk about many things and take them one by one. But
Hmm.
if I were to name, for example, maybe two or three things, the first one that comes in my mind is just being able to understand how your players think, what they want, mm, how they feel. So how they feel, how they think, what they want, just overall to be able to understand them, talk to them, and you have to be able to take decisions. If you are a coach, especially a head coach, maybe if you are an analyst or a strategic coach, you might not need to have like a skill in taking decisions. But if you are a head coach, the first
Hmm.
word that comes in my mind is responsibility. You need to be responsible, and you need to be able to take decisions when you are the head coach of the team, because you are the one kind of in control, let's say. I mean, you don't really
Yeah. You set
control
out to
the
direct. You are a leader. You
yeah
need to
you have
set out the direction.
yeah, exactly, you need to be the leader, and you have the responsibility of the team. There's many coaches who don't take that responsibility. They just do their job, they say stuff, and if things work out, good. If they don't work out, not their fault.
Hmm.
And it's probably not going to go good when a coach has that kind of mindset.
Yeah. Is there also one or two examples of coaches that, in your eyes, are doing a bad job? Maybe some coaches are listening and they feel like, oh yeah, these points, yeah, yeah, I understand. But on the practical side, they may be a less efficient coach, to say it nicely. So, what are
mm,
the things that less efficient coach or just like total garbage coaches
yeah.
actually do? What are the things that bad coaches don't seem to
um,
understand, or the things that they do?
there's many things that make a coach be bad. um, let's say the first thing that comes in my mind, if I were to describe a bad coach, is just someone who doesn't really get involved in what he's doing. He's just there and kind of doing his job, or like pretending he's doing his job,
Mm,
just talking to the players, not really listening to what they say, or he listens but he doesn't really bother understanding, or maybe he just can't understand. But I mean, that's another thing. Maybe they don't have the experience.
yeah, it could be. Yeah.
But maybe there's actually some coaches that don't value their players' opinions so much, or they think, oh, just another player that likes to cry all the time. Just do as I say already, and stop crying. Or
Yeah.
like, you have to take your player's opinion um, in mind, and you have to be able to find solutions, because maybe you actually believe that your way is better and the player is wrong. But as a coach, you have to be able to show your player that. You have to be able to tell him, okay, look, this is why I believe I might be, like, you don't say I'm right. You have to say, not even use the words right or wrong.
Hmm.
Just say, look, I think it's going to be more beneficial for us if we do this because of that and that. And the player can as well come with some arguments and say, no, I think it's better if we do it this way. And the only solution you have as a coach in that moment is to try both, to try your point of view, your argument, and try his. And I find that so simple, like, right? It
Mm.
sounds so simple, like, oh,
Common
obviously.
sense isn't
Yeah,
that
common
common.
sense. Like, obviously, why would you not do that? But then you go into a team and you just see the coach and the player in front of each other, just arguing. No, no, this. No, no, that. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
It's kind
Waste
of
of
simple.
energy.
Yeah, exactly. Just listen to the player, see what he has to say, then tell your own opinion. If even after a lot of arguments and points that you show to the player, he's still not sure, give it a try. Maybe he's actually right. That's another thing that some coaches that are unexperienced, or maybe some coaches that are not self-aware, don't realize. You might be wrong. You can be wrong. They go into the head coach position and they feel the need to show the players that they are some godlike beings. It's like, yeah, everything I say is correct, so you need to listen. So maybe sometimes they don't talk enough because they are afraid that what they will say is not correct. So
Exactly.
I think it's just better to be as open-minded as possible. Listen to your players, have your own opinions. Be a leader. Obviously, you need a lot of knowledge, right? You can't just come there and be like,
Of course.
"Yeah, I'm humble. I'm just gonna listen to you guys," but in reality, you don't really do anything. There are
Yeah.
coaches like that as well. Just there to be like emotional support for the players. Yeah, guys, you're doing great. I mean, you still need to be able to be the one leading,
Yeah.
and
That is a head coach. Take responsibility, show
exactly,
direction. This is the same
exactly.
thing. So what I've learned as well in terms of working with basically any individual, it's also like a human thing. You can say for people, if you do this and this and this, you will reach challenger, or you will reach success. And even though that is the objective, maybe the best path, a lot of
Yeah,
people are not ready yet to go that path because of a mental block, or they don't are not experienced enough to value your opinion, or to value their own opinion or their own intuition
yeah,
in that sense. So we will be also, as coaches, want and need to understand is that players are ready or not ready. Just as simple as that. That's how I view things when I coach and help people individually as well. Players and people in general, they are ready or not. So they listen to you or they cannot listen to you. It doesn't matter if you are right. Right?
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
matter if that is the truth. If a player's not ready, like that's just like a waste of energy, what you just explained before. That can be a real struggle. But if you know that or have that mentality of, oh, this player just isn't ready yet, it's better to go with the flow with a little bit of his direction, and maybe in 1 week we come back to this point and maybe he learned something from experience, and then you get growth.
yeah. I agree. I agree with that, and that's actually something that happened throughout my career in teams. There's things that you can talk about with players and tell them to do, tell them to practice, but it's just not working. Like you can see it. You give them a task, you
Mm,
assign them to do something, and you can see them trying. You can see them like they're kind of doing their best, in a way,
yeah,
but they don't feel that inside of them. They don't feel that play style or champion or
exactly.
idea. It doesn't stick to them, and it's I think the worst thing that a coach can do is try to force that.
Mm,
Like you have to be able to see if they can get that task and use it and be able to get through with it or not. And if they are not, then don't force it. Just go to the next point, try to practice something else, try to see why it doesn't work, because it might just be his personality or his play style. It might just not be for him. So then what is his play style? Like you can actually get information from that as well.
hmm
It's like why is he not able to play in this certain way or think or communicate in this certain way? And maybe you'll find answers. Maybe you'll realize he's a certain type of player. Maybe he prefers, let's say, I'm gonna give an example of League of Legends. Maybe he's just not good on playing poke champions or ranged champions.
right.
Even though I'm forcing him to try to because that's meta or something.
Yeah.
But maybe he's that good on engage champions that he doesn't need to follow the meta, and then you just go with that. Instead of trying to force him to play a style that obviously he's showing he can't do it, it's better to try to improve or perfect the thing that he's already good at.
Yeah. What I see, the metaphor that pops into my mind is you have a puzzle, right? And let's say
Yeah,
the puzzle is, I don't know, 1,000 pieces and it's all, I don't know, one single color, right? It all
yeah,
fits together, but you don't know where it all fits.
yeah,
And what a
exactly.
lot of coaches do is like, oh, it's red and it fits with this red. It doesn't really fit, but if I smash it and force it hard
Yeah,
enough,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, look, it
It
fits.
should fit.
It
Yeah,
should fit. It should fit.
yeah. And then
Uh,
someone comes and touches it, and it all
yeah, and it all
goes
goes
apart.
boom. Yeah,
Yeah,
it all goes to pieces. So that
yeah,
is the thing that I'm looking at, and I believe it's a puzzle, and everything you work with new people or new things, it's another piece of the puzzle that you can lay out. And sometimes you feel like, oh, this works out, and you have
yeah,
like when you
exactly.
start off with a puzzle, you have first the framework that you make, right? Those are the edges, and then you
Yeah,
start to collect like, oh, these pieces are like, I don't know, 20 pieces together. That stick. Here's a piece, but at the end you connect everything together. But first you
exactly.
have to get insight into what you said, in what are the personalities, what are the play styles, what are they
Yeah,
communicating with. And yeah, that is a very good point that you bring on there. What I also was interested in is because you said in a couple of minutes before is that you need to understand in terms of the pieces what they
yeah,
think, what they want, and what they feel. So
yep,
what you also touched upon is but you can be objectively right. Let's say meta pick or whatever, but it doesn't
yep,
fit.
exactly.
So how do you balance maybe the fourth one that is maybe a bit of older? You have think, want, and feel, but where is the need? When do you coach on the need? So not what the players want, but when the players need. Where's the balance?
Actually, this comes back to what I was saying before about maybe some coaches are good and some are bad. I think what you need to have as a coach is to be able to read situations and have the skill of adaptability. You need to be able to adapt to situations. You need to be able to read them and know when exactly it's time for you to step in and say, okay, we need to do this.
Hmm.
Because what happens is, for example, in my case, what I usually do is I don't go into the fourth one, the need, that often.
Exactly.
I usually give freedom to the players. I listen to them. I analyze. I give information, feedback, and when I think and feel and see that I have to step in and say we need to do this, then I will do it. But it's not going to happen often because I want the players to be active all the time. Like I
Hmm.
don't want to be the kind of coach that just talks a lot, players listen, and then I go on the chair and I just look at the games end, and we repeat. I talk a lot, and it keeps going.
Yeah.
It's more like I say what I need to say, what I have to get them to understand. Not many points. It's usually very simple. I see, for example, at the end of a game that I don't know. Let's give an example. We did not transition our pressure from one point to the other correctly, or something like that. But even before that, I asked them, look at the situation. What do you think of it? What did we do wrong? I think it's very important to try to get the players to always be active mentally and not just have them sit there in their chairs. They listen to you, you talk to them, and then you
Hmm.
watch their games. You have to keep them active all the time to get their thoughts flowing so they can talk to each other. Maybe they share ideas. And this has to be kind of a short process, though, even though it sounds like it's like 20 minutes they talk to each other. So, I mean, no, it has to be them just talking 2-3 minutes. And then if you see them still not being able to come to a conclusion, you come in, you say your opinion. We should probably do that and that. What do you guys think? They'll be like, "Oh, right, we should have done that. We should have, I don't know, played together here and look to get vision and objective, and so on." And then at the end of the scrims, for example, in meetings you do the same. You come up with some topics, and you let them talk. You let them present their opinions,
Yeah,
their ideas, and based on what they say, based on their opinions, it's really good in meetings that players listen to each other as well. Not
for
just
sure.
you as not just you as a coach listen to them and they listen to you, because a bond is gonna form every time players are together and there's discussions together. Even though they might talk to me, in reality they also talk to each other.
For sure.
They listen to each other, and even though they talk to me, as I said, those words go through all of the players' heads.
So what I hear, sort of in my own wording of the story, because it makes total sense to me, and I believe for the audience as well, is the thing one feel, and you added also a little bit of see, like what you see as well. That is
Yeah.
the freedom that you give. So you give a lot of freedom, but as a
Yep.
leader, that responsibility. So what I view it as, you have first this framework that you set up,
Hmm.
and then you have them move freely within that framework, and you
Kind of.
only
Yeah.
are stepping in when something gets out of hand or no solution is given, or you feel like, okay, he's stepping out of the boundaries or anything else. And that is the most productive way to get everyone involved, to stay attached. And I also believe what popped into my mind is that when you are giving that freedom, that if you are saying something that you want the players to need to do,
Yeah.
maybe 1 out of 10 times, that they will have more chance to listen to you. But now
Exactly.
you're really
Exactly.
implying like you are also bringing in your value, and I believe that's a great balance to have.
Yeah. Exactly. Because let's take an example that's out of esports. Let's say you are in school,
Okay, I'm at school.
and yeah, you are in school, and you are in the class, and you have a lot of like colleagues with you in the class,
Hmm.
and they all talk from time to time. They all talk, and you have one guy or one girl that sits in the back of the class. It's shy and doesn't really talk a lot. And one day, just after 20 days, for example, she says something while everyone is talking.
Yeah,
What are the chances that everyone is gonna shut up and listen to that girl or guy?
yeah, a good
Pretty
chance.
high.
Yeah,
It's,
pretty
it's,
high.
it's a pretty high chance, because they'll be like, oh, they actually have something to say. So because they don't really talk a lot, it's probably going to be important, right? So it's kind of the same as in the coach job. You need to talk, obviously, as a coach, but
Sure.
it's much better if you give freedom to the players, and then when you talk, it's the need. So it's probably going to be important. So the players are going to listen. And then you're gonna give again freedom, and they're probably gonna talk about the thing that you
Mm.
said, and it's gonna stick into their heads, and they're probably gonna practice it.
Yeah. I also believe it comes down to sort of a basic need within groups as well, is that you trust each other, that you as a head
Yeah.
coach or just like a general coach, trust that the players are capable to solve, let's say, 95% of the problems themselves by
I
just
agree.
discussing and everything.
Yeah,
What is your view?
I agree with that. And honestly, even if you don't trust them to find solutions or to come up with new productive ideas and grow, you can trust them that they will develop that.
Hmm.
So maybe you know that they are gonna fuck up, but you know they're gonna learn from it. So it's once again beneficial for you to give freedom to the players, because you might give freedom and then I don't know, they just mess up. They don't do what they are supposed to do,
Hmm.
but because they did it, it comes from their heads. It's their experience. It's not you saying something, and they'll be like, "Oh no, what did I just do? Why did I do this? And how can I fix it?"
Exactly.
And then, even though they messed up, at least they have the chance to better themselves.
They take ownership.
Exactly. They take ownership. They get active, and they realize, oh, I really should look for a solution on this. And by doing that all the time, or doing that for a long period of time, your trust in them will also grow because their skill will grow. If you do something
Mm.
very often, you'll probably get good at it. So if you get, it doesn't mean that if you mess up a lot, you're gonna get good at messing up. It said it doesn't work like that, or it's a good thing that it doesn't work like that. It's actually the other way around. If you mess up a lot and you learn from it, and then you start doing good things, then you might actually get good at doing the right thing. And then you, as a coach, see that you start trusting, and you'll give even more freedom at the right moments. Because then again,
Mm.
sometimes you have to change things. You have to step in and say, for example, let's give a draft example. You are in a best of
Exactly.
five. You are in a best of five, and you give some freedom in the beginning of the best of five, right? In the first game, you maybe want to try something. You want to see how it goes. Maybe it goes good, and you can keep going with that. But maybe it doesn't go well, and then you have to step in and say, okay, we are going to change that, and we are going to try a different strategy.
Exactly.
What do you guys think? And most of the time, they are going to listen because they are in because if something didn't work, they kind of want you to guide them again. They want you to guide them, and then they go on that path, and they will try
Exactly.
again. So
What I see there also is you give trust first, unconditionally, not because you're naive. But I always say you
yeah,
give trust first, not because you're naive, but because you are courageous. You're a leader. You
yeah,
give trust first, and then if they can handle that trust or that amount of
hmm,
freedom, you give it even more. So that's a way more positive
yeah,
approach than, oh, they need to earn my respect and my trust and everything, and it's so rigid and so authoritarian. And I believe the approach that you're taking is yeah, pretty good, I would say, and it's a good
yeah.
recommendation to adopt such mindsets as well.
Another thing that I wanna like extrapolate or like give an example is, imagine this goes the same way in a relationship that you have with a friend or with your significant other. You should trust them, right? It's the better thing to do, because
Yeah,
if you don't, it's already ruined
yeah.
if you don't trust them. So you should trust them, and if they mess up, I mean, that's up to them, and you can talk that out. You can try to go from there, but I think it's always better to give trust in the beginning, because if you do, there's two outcomes. They are gonna take it for granted, and they're gonna mess up, and that's fine. You it, it's fine, like, you are gonna go from there. You are
Hmm.
gonna learn something. You are gonna at least know something for yourself, what
Sure.
happened. And the other outcome is obviously it's gonna go really well. They start respecting you. They also give you freedom. They listen to you. They get closer to you. A better bond, or like a stronger bond, is gonna form, and everything is gonna be amazing from there on. But if you don't give trust from the beginning, you basically close the door. So
Exactly.
you don't even have a situation in front of you. You can't even look at the light because you have a
Yeah.
door in your or
Yeah,
the
it's
window is
like
closed.
you already put the ceiling on what people are capable of. Like
Yeah,
it's on
so it's
having them instantly on a leash.
yeah, exactly. So all your limits, all your potential is already done. It's stuck somewhere. You are not giving room to growth or anything. So I think it's better always to start with trust, even though it might hurt you. It doesn't matter. It's
Mm,
still the right thing to do. It's because that's already a loser mentality. When you don't trust someone, be like, okay, it's not gonna work. There's no point
yeah,
trusting them to do this. I'm just gonna do my way, and then team falls apart. There's no trust in each other. It's already ruined before it starts.
yeah. You can see the signals way earlier if
Yeah,
you're at least experienced, or if you have experience in it, or you studied the people and talk to other people. These are very recognizable patterns, and for sure the audience understands those as well. So, what
Yeah.
I'm also curious about, Emmanuel, is what are now, let's say, the biggest difference between a strategic coach and head coach? Because I was just thinking about it, like how do these things correlate? To me, it sounds like, yeah, you need these skills as well as a strategic coach and as a
Mhm.
head coach, but perhaps more of those in a different role. So, what are the differences between those two roles in strategic coach and a head coach? What are the main different competencies that you need to have?
So let's start from a strategic coach point of view. What you focus on as a strategic coach most of the time is the game part, the game knowledge part.
Right.
So when you talk to players, even though you form a bond, you form it, you form the bond related to the game. So you talk to them a lot about the game. You say, okay, we should be looking to. You still have to give freedom. By the way, I want to point that out. You should still
Okay.
give a bit of freedom. You just come up with strategies. You tell them, look, I've seen I don't know, a team from Korea do this, or from China, and it seems pretty good. Let's give it a try. You can look to do this and that, and maybe I don't know, buy these items, slow push in such a way, ping the wave that's coming. Just the strategic part. So the freedom um, it's still there. It's just about you don't talk a lot about emotions as much.
Right.
You don't, for example, the head coach. He has a lot more things to take responsibility for. So that's, I think, the key word there, responsibility. And also, he's responsible for not just the game part, but also for the people's part, like people
For sure.
skills. He needs to be able to always be like not in control, but to be aware of the emotions, of the team's communication, of the team's synergy, of how the people in the team like to communicate, to play, just everything. While the strategic coach, what he's doing, he's just looking at the game. He's making sure that everyone plays, let's say, the correct way. And by the correct way, I mean the efficient way, what's working for the team, not
Mm.
necessarily what's correct for other teams.
Yeah. What I wrote down, because I like
Yeah,
writing also my thoughts
sure,
when I
sure.
listen. So what I sense is strategic coach is more objective. Like, this is the right play always. You have to move left, right. Here should be a pink wart at 2 minutes 15. It's a sort
More
of
or
like
less,
more
yeah.
or less, like more
Yeah,
that
more or
direction.
less.
And a
Hmm.
head coach is more subjective versus objective. So more into the realm of emotions, synergy, connecting everything together, just like a ball of energy to
Yeah,
manage.
yeah. He's still the head coach um, is more likely to have to find a balance because the head coach usually is also the one who drafts, is also the one who needs game knowledge because since he's responsible and he's the one who leads the team, he's gonna be the one that takes decisions. And if you are the
Exactly.
one who takes decisions, you need to be able to have game knowledge because you will see what's happening in the game. The,
Hmm.
there are head coaches who don't have that good game knowledge, but have a really good strategy coach that always tells the coach what is going on in the game. So, for example, if you are, then again, the strategy coach should have a decent idea of people's feelings as well. In my case, for example, when I was a strategy coach in Giants, and Fearless was the head coach,
Hmm.
what was happening is even though I wasn't in direct contact with the players in the idea that I'm taking decisions for them, I was always noticing how they play, what's happening, what works, and then I was taking in account how they feel as well.
Right.
So even though I feel like you should not necessarily have the skill as a strategy coach, it's very helpful to have it,
Right.
because
Exactly.
you can go to the head coach and say, look, I think they play this way and they rotate this way because they might actually not be comfortable with this play style, or um, we should change the draft and give them more comfort picks, or more engage or more disengage, maybe more poke, maybe just
Mm.
certain picks that they feel better on, or just overall another strategy, and you
Yeah.
should be able to see what's causing that. You can't just come in as a strategy coach and after a game and say, yeah, we should just place this word this time better. You kind of do that part as well, but
Of course. It's not
but
always
only, yeah,
100%. It's not that black and white
yeah,
or that the black and white, right?
exactly.
So, what I'm curious about is, for me, talking to you right now, I get since basically minute one when you started to explain yourself and the way you think about coach roles, that you are very good at both aspects.
Yeah.
Even more, I believe in the human aspect, to really analyze and to go that lower, and that
Yeah,
is perhaps why, and we can talk about in a bit, but
sure.
also that when you are a head coach and you have a strategic coach that doesn't have that,
Hmm.
or not at all, or maybe 10%, while the strategic coach, in order to properly connect with the head coach, need to have at least, I don't know, just to give it a number, 35% or 25% of emotional intelligence, and combine that as
Yeah.
well, then you could really miscommunicate all the time. And it
Yep.
maybe might
Yep.
be more in terms of a waste of energy, or it's not really clicking. Have you ever experienced that as well, or can you manage that?
um I can say I'm lucky to have not experienced that in a big period of time, let's say. There were some struggles at some points. For example, when I was a strategic coach and I worked with Fearless as a head coach, in the way that maybe sometimes we were not clicking, but because we both had good emotional intelligence, we managed to fix that and come to a common point.
Hmm.
So the issue is, if you don't find that common point, it can for sure be a struggle. If the strategy coach and the head coach don't have people skills, and you come together and just work together for the better, for the greater good, then I think you are gonna have a problem in the coaching department.
Yeah, 100%. So it comes down. You have, and I believe just like with everything, like also in day to day life, no matter if you're at a workplace, everyone
Yeah,
needs to know a little bit about the other person's
yeah,
job,
exactly. Yeah,
right? Even though if you're working at McDonald's, for the coaches that are still flipping burgers, right?
yeah, yeah. Burger flippers.
Yeah, burger flippers. So if one is working at the burger stand, you also need to understand how long the fries will take, or at the cashier how
Yeah,
that sort of, not everything, but like in a really
yeah, yeah,
plain
yeah. There
sight, that you
should
have to
still
know a
be.
little bit,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
get a sense. So you have to find common ground, a little bit of gray area where you can meet each other, shake hands, and get to agreement points, and bring in
exactly,
both values. Because
exactly.
if it's more on the, I don't know, the black side or the white side, depending how you
Hmm.
view it, then it might be misaligned or miscommunicated in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, I want to go into that a bit and point out that this goes for players, this goes for coaches, this goes for everyone within a team. If someone is not able to see the bigger picture, and just thinks, because there's, for example, situations where some players or coaches think, okay, I'm right, but it's not gonna work with my way
Hmm.
because the team is just really bad, like really trash at what I think
Yeah,
it's
sure.
correct, or what I think it's correct. And then they take it kind of personal. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do this, but I know it's bad.
Yeah.
And he's from there, if that's the mentality, it's
Lost.
just gonna go into the garbage bin. Like, the team is not gonna work out. So the correct way, I feel like, or the efficient way to look at that, you might be correct, but at the same time you are not,
Hmm.
because your team is not able to function in the way you think
They have
it
a
should be the
different
correct.
reality, a different
Yeah.
truth towards
Yes.
themselves. They're more than
So
one truth.
if actually you can be the one who can
Mm,
adapt as a coach, or if you have that possibility, you should, and try to do what you can that's better for the team, and that's actually going to be the correct way. It's not your correct way, because, oh, if we do this, then it's we're going to have a free win or something like that. You are not going to have a free win because it's not working. You have to look at your team and see what's efficient for your team, and in the moment you realize what's efficient for your team, that's the only correct way. There is no
exactly.
other correct way. You thinking that you playing in a certain way is the correct way means nothing, is equal zero,
I like that.
because your team is the most important thing. It's not you, sadly.
Yeah.
Even as in the individual, and as individuals, as people, spend most of our time with ourselves, and we think we are in the center of the world, and our ways are always the correct ways, or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the reality is, you are in a team, and your goal in the team is to make that team work.
Yeah.
And because of that, the only correct or incorrect paths or decisions have to be related to the team and not
Yeah.
to you.
I, I,
If
I, I
something that you do, means the team goes on the right path, even though you think it might not be efficient, or it's not really what we're supposed to do,
mhm.
then you are probably messing up. You shouldn't think that. It's working, go with it. It's because the team wants that. This is how it functions.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to add that we have to understand that no matter if you're a player or a coach, and but you have more responsibility as a coach, is that you are a support for the team, and not the
Yes.
team is not the support for you to fulfill all your needs and wants. Like
Yep.
the team is like the top of the hierarchy. Like the
Exactly.
team matters. Like
The team matters the most.
you
Yeah.
are under, you're a part of the team, and
Exactly.
therefore the team is also a part of
Yeah.
you, but you are always supporting.
Yeah. You are the little puzzle
Yes. Yeah, the
in the
puzzle
big.
again.
Yeah. You are the small piece there in the big puzzle. You are not the puzzle, and you need the pieces to go around you.
Yeah.
You are the piece that has to fit.
Yeah,
So you need to adapt as a player to the team, and you need to try different things, and there's no correct way and no incorrect way.
for sure.
Just need to
I
find
like that.
out what works. Yeah.
I like that a lot. So in terms of esports coaching, are there anything like that you want to share, or anything else about esports coaching and these role swaps? Do you have any advice for the people that are wanting to become an esports coach, or are within a strategic coach or head coach position, and maybe they want to swap either way from assistant coach, analyst, or is there advice from your side?
Oh, yes, I do have some advices. I could say that no matter in what job you choose to go for, I think you should be very open-minded. You should definitely not think, no matter how much experience you have already, do not think that you are already better than everyone, or that you think everything. or that maybe you, because the second you think for yourself, oh, I kind of experienced everything. I have 4 years of coaching teams.
Hmm.
I've been through so many positions. Now I just need to go there and share my experience. You always learn. There's not a single player that's the same as other. There's not a single team that's the same as other. So you have to be able to adapt. You need some people skills, especially if you're a head coach. You need to be able, and I go again into the point earlier, the difference
Hmm.
between strategic coach and head coach.
Yeah.
Probably the most important one is being able to take decisions for the team. That's what the head
When it's
coach usually
needed,
does.
not
When
when you
it's
want
needed,
to, but when
exactly.
it's
When
needed.
it's needed, you have to be able to step in. Usually, strategic coaches don't do that.
Hmm.
They just go. They just give feedback. They
Yes.
always give feedback. They go to the main coach or to the players and say, "Okay, I see this. I see that. Think maybe we should play that way." But the head coach is the one who takes all the information, gives some feedback as well, but then he comes in and says, "All right, we now need to perform this way or apply this strategy or communicate it in a certain manner." So like I think that's very important if you want to switch to head coach, for example, or even like usually you don't see switches from head coach to strategic coaches that much unless the head coach knows, okay, I don't have the skill, I
Hmm.
can't do it, I go back to a strategy coach. But usually when a head coach has this skill of being able to talk to people, what can happen is they go more into a assistant slash strategic coach, not just strategic part,
Yeah.
because that skill that they have is kind of going to waste, not being able to talk a lot, to communicate to people and give their ideas and those kind of things. But yeah, so I would say leadership for head coach, being able to take decisions, give freedom, don't think that you know everything, be open minded. I think these are the most important factors as a head coach if someone wants to get that position. And for analyst and strategy coach, mm, honestly, I think everything from the head coach applies, but less from it.
Yeah.
So I guess everything that I said for head coach applies for strategy coach and analyst as well. Just always be open minded, always look for new
Yeah.
things. Try to keep a close connection to your players.
Exactly.
And I think
No,
that should sum it up.
yeah, not to force you in a position. So I mentioned, let's say, percentage, because what I said as well, it all
Hmm.
meshes well together, and it's a big gray area where some people are more on the strategic side, some people are more really on the people side of
Yeah.
sports and coaching. So, what would you say is a good balance? So, if you are a strategic coach, you should have, for example, 70% of analytical view, but also 30%
Hmm.
of people skills. So, you add that as well. And when you're a head coach, you're at more 70% and 30%. What is that balance? To maybe like it's a sort of a judgment, and
Mm,
it's tricky because it always depends on the context and who you
exactly.
are.
So it's a bit
But
rough to answer that, but
exactly what would it be?
it's a bit hard to say a number, a percentage. I think it's better to give an example and say something like, if you are a strategic coach, what like the people's skill that you should have is to at least be able to listen, to see, to be able to come to common conclusions with a head coach, and to not like, not sure how to explain this, um, but I think I'm just gonna say, if I were to give a number, maybe a 25%, but a minimum.
Hmm.
The bigger
More
it
is
is, the
better.
more is better, but a minimum of 25%. And that 25, since I don't want to just have it as a number, as I said, it means that they have to be able to communicate to the players and listen to them and come up with some solutions as well.
Mm.
But the strategic coach usually doesn't need more in terms of number, because the head coach is the one who should have for sure above
Yeah.
50%, because the head coach is the one who actually takes the feedback and converts it into solutions and converts it into ideas and into decisions, because he's the one responsible at the end of the day for what the team does. You don't really see the strategy coach being the one in charge and saying, yeah, we will do that and that. No,
Yeah.
he's the
Yeah.
one just giving information.
Yeah.
So he just needs to make sure that he's able to communicate with the players and with the head coach. And the head coach is the one who's actually in charge of coming up with decisions. So because the responsibility is so high, you definitely need a big people skill right there
Yeah.
in the
For
head coach
sure.
position.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great, thorough answer. And I believe if anyone had the question like, "Oh, what should the balance be?" and some examples, I believe
Hmm.
you gave a really good example of what you need, and also in percentages and all these things. So it's
Yeah,
great to hear that from you, someone that has so much experience in all these different roles. So that's a ton of value right there alone. So what we always do in this podcast is to weave in questions from episode to episode. So
sure.
in the last episode number 7, we had Coach Colwyn Darkside King and Anthony Psycho Vicente, and they
Hmm.
asked a question for you. And the question was, how has your day-to-day changed from being strategic to a head coach? What actually changes?
That's a good question, and it's not hard to answer. So I will just describe on exactly
Yeah,
how
go
my
for
day
it.
is going now
Yeah,
and how my day was going back when I was a strategy
sure.
coach. So I will start with strategy coach. When I was a strategy coach, let's say I was making a lot less decisions. I was just waking up on the hour that was scheduled for me by the head
Mm-hmm.
coach and for everyone. I was basically following things that the head coach was saying and coming up with, but even my own work was around what the head coach needed.
Yeah, your
So the
support
head
of the head
coach,
coach.
exactly, you are basically the support and coming up with what he needs for the team. Then
Exactly.
again, the team is the biggest
Mm-hmm.
um, and the most important thing here. Um, and now, when I'm the head coach, I'm basically the one in charge for everything. I need to find what's the best schedule for the players. I am the one who needs to find out what's the best schedule for the staff. I need to know when to have meetings, how many meetings to have, what topics should we discuss in those meetings based on how the team is working, what teams to scream, mm, what to practice during those screams,
Right.
uh, what to review exactly, what are we focusing on, because you can't really review. I want to touch something else here. There's a lot of coaches that go into review and they don't have something specific to review. So
Yeah.
they just review for 1 hour.
So, guys, what do you guys think?
Yeah, and they just watch the game and okay, with this point here, this point there, and at the end of the review, you have 30 points that you talked about, and the
Yeah.
other team is messaging you on Discord. Hey guys, can you start already? Can we, you know?
Yeah.
And they are just waiting. And it's very important to have something specific to review, to know what you are focusing on at a certain time. Basically, as a head coach, you are just in charge of everything. You are the one who needs to decide what's best for the team. And the strategic coach has much less responsibility. He's still there giving a lot of information and working a lot
Mm.
as well, because he's still the one who goes to the head coach and tells him, hey, this is working good, this is working bad, we should change this, we should change that. He still has a very important role in the team, for sure. But at the end of the day, the head coach is the one responsible, the one leading, the one taking decisions. So you have a lot more stress, let's say, on you if you are not
Yeah.
paying attention. You'll stress a lot more as a head coach since you are the one in charge and the one responsible for everything. But it's pretty rewarding once the things go well, because you're like,
For
oh,
sure.
oh damn, actually I took so many decisions that helped the team. Because as a head coach, for example, that's the most important thing, or should be the most important thing for you, is seeing growth. You start from a team is not winning, let's be honest, because you win, and or you lose, and then how do you feel at the end of the day?
Yeah. It's
If you
always
want,
a result of the process that you do. It's a
yeah,
result,
it's
like in something that comes
yeah,
after the work and the growth that you put into.
yeah. Imagine tomorrow I get an offer from G2 to be a head coach, and I go
So,
there and
Grabs and Carlos,
yeah.
if you're listening to this,
It's just an example, yeah. And I go there and I just don't do much, but I win the league. How am I gonna feel?
yeah,
I'm probably gonna be somewhat happy because nice, my experience in my CV is gonna be that I won LEC with
yeah,
G2. But inside of me, I know. I mean, I didn't really do shit, you know.
yeah. It
So
doesn't feel fulfilling.
yeah, but when you go to a team and you see that that team is growing and growing, even though you lose some games, at the end of the day, you know that team became much better, and probably you're gonna have the results as well. Most likely, since the team is growing, everyone is learning, everyone is becoming better. You're gonna see results, but those results, when they come, they are 10 times more fulfilling than when you
Mm,
are at a team, in a team that you didn't really have much impact. They are already fakers, all of them, you know.
yeah,
So yeah, that's for sure something to keep in mind. That the growth of a team should be what the coach is looking for.
yeah. I really like it that you, let's say, latch onto something and really go into the deep subjects so others can also understand how you are thinking, because you make a lot of your thoughts boil up to the surface so everyone else can see it.
Yeah,
And if you are listening to this, because I'm really in listening to you and what you're saying, and it's also true. So if you are super serious, and I believe what Emmanuel is doing, and you want to become that head coach, or you're struggling or want to reach that next level, like I literally would suggest put this episode on repeat a couple of times, or maybe listen it to once a week, because I believe this is really some points, and it's also about principles and how you think in a very broad perspective. But it's so true, right? If you learn about a mindset, you need to hone it as a muscle, and I believe your coaching muscle is pretty well developed in that sense. How you talk about, and it all makes sense, and everyone, oh yeah, that's nice, yeah, I know this. But
it's common
where,
sense, as I
yeah,
said.
but where are you now? That's also
Yeah,
the part, like, where do you want to be?
yeah,
You've been, I don't know, you can say maybe not G2, but been
yeah,
into a lot of places where probably coaches that are listening towards now, that they wish they were be, right?
yeah.
So
Very possible.
grow
Yeah,
yourself and allow
yeah.
yourself to work on this and help yourself.
Self-awareness,
Exactly.
basically self-awareness. You need to be aware of what you are doing and not just have everything on paper and say, yeah, obviously this is just how things work. It's very, very true. Anyone can do it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But once you are presented with a situation,
Exactly.
you are like, you get mad, you get
Yeah.
annoyed. What are you doing, guys? Players, stop trolling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's a real skill. I believe I say it every podcast, so I'm gonna say it this time as well, so you guys know the pattern. But I believe coaching is an art form. It's not something that you learn out of a book or something. You need
yeah,
both. You need the theory, you need the mentors in your space to learn from, but also have the experience and be super reflective and honest towards yourself in order to always grow. So I really like it. So, Emmanuel, we have always the next episode number 9 of the Next Level Esports
yep.
podcast. So you also have the chance to weave in a question for the next coach. So what is a topic or question that you want to give for the next guest on the podcast?
I would like to see someone's perspective, another coach's perspective on how how would they navigate a situation where the players don't really respect coaches.
Mm.
So how would that coach, or what does that coach think that is the best way to earn your player respect and have them listen to you and like look up to you and like just overall give you value as a coach?
So they give value to you as a coach.
Yeah, a lot of players don't give value to coaches. They think it. There's even professional players that said, "Oh, coaches are just useless."
Yeah.
Maybe their coaches, maybe they were, maybe they are entitled to say that because they never worked with a good coach, or maybe they actually cannot see the value of a coach, of a
Mm.
good coach. So
Interesting.
how would you actually as a coach be able to have your players earn or how would you earn your players respect?
The question is noted. I believe it will be a great answer for the next episode. So if
Yeah.
if other coaches and individuals are interested in coaching, team development, and everything, have more questions for you, where can they find you, Emmanuel? What are the channels that you are able to be reached to?
Mainly I only use Twitter, so you can always talk to me in DMs there. You can send me a message there. You also have my email on Twitter
Hmm?
in my on my profile. It's basically Amy, by the way, LOL on Twitter, and I also use Twitch. If you want to check out my stream or just send some messages in the chat when I stream, I don't do it so often, but I'll get back on it. You can drop a follow on Amy, by the way, BTW.
Okay.
So maybe see you guys there.
Yeah, great stuff. So be sure to follow him, drop a like and subscribe, follow maybe on Twitch. He has an extra source of income. Who knows? Who knows?
Who
So,
knows? Yes.
Emmanuel, thank you so much for sharing some great insight in the podcast. I really was a blast and so many great insights, and also
Thank you
very,
as well.
and I believe very practical as well, with a lot of a really good insight into your brain with different types and perspectives from coaching
Yeah.
positions, and it's so valuable for so many. So I hope that if you're watching this or listening to this, spread the word if you know other people that might find use of it. So it is
Yeah.
great.
Definitely. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, you're
Was
welcome.
indeed a blast.
And that is it, guys. Episode number 8 of the Next Level Esports Podcast, the number one podcast for esports coaches and team development to help you and your team reach that next level by getting the people side of esports right. If you like what you heard, then please smash that like and share and subscribe button and let us know in the comments what you think of the episode. If you know anyone that might find this podcast valuable or interesting, of course, let them know. If you want more information or things to learn about esports coaching and team development, you can go to Next Level Esports Discord or go to the Next Level Esports YouTube channel for more content, and be sure to subscribe there as well. Follow Next Level Esports on Twitter at next_L_esports. And thank you so much once again, Emmanuel, as a guest on this podcast. And for you who is listening, I hope that you're also tuned in for the next episode where we'll have another esports coach on this podcast to help you become a better coach and how to work with teams. Thank you all very much for listening. And as always, bye bye.